Good evening. My name is Ray Dwyer, and this is Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditation and discussion group. Tonight, we're discussing breaking the habit of being yourself, chapter 2, overcoming your environment. Chapter 2 is the environment, chapter 3 will be your body, chapter 4 is overcoming time. Let's begin this discussion by reading an opening paragraph here. What I do generally is I read pieces, sometimes paragraphs and stuff, and then we talk about it. But we'll begin. You'll understand. But this paragraph is too good to just go around. By now, I trust that you're beginning to accept the idea that the subjective mind has an effect on the objective world. You might even been keen to acknowledge that an observer can affect the subatomic world and influence a specific event just by collapsing a single electron from a wave of energy into a particle. At this point, you may also believe the scientific experiments in quantum mechanics I've described, which prove consciousness directly controls the tiny world of atoms, because those elements fundamentally are made of consciousness and energy. That's the quantum physics in action. Last week, we talked about quantum U. And the purpose of that little discussion is to help you change your definition of what you are. When you change your definition of what you are, then these meditations will make a lot more sense. When you understand that everything is energy, including what you are. Yes, you have a physical manifestation for a body. That is how you express yourself. That is not what you are. You are an energy consciousness. You. And as such, energy can neither be destroyed, cannot be created nor destroyed, only change expressions. You can neither be created or nor destroyed. You are an eternal energy expression of consciousness. And this mortal body is a temporary expression of that consciousness. When that gets in you at least a little bit, then a lot of these lessons will make a little bit more sense. That is not woo woo. That is not mysticism. That is science fact. E equals mc squared, m equals E divided by C. The only difference between energy and matter is frequency. That's it. There is no exception. You are energy of a particular frequency. That's what makes you unique. Perhaps you're still on the fence about the concept of your mind as has real measurable effects on your life. You may be asking yourself, how can my mind influence bigger events? How can I collapse electrons into specific events? My goal is that you understand and can see in action how there might be a scientific basis for accepting that your thoughts can create reality. That's the first bridge. Can you accept the thought that your thoughts can affect your reality? We accept it on the negative side. You think maybe? How many people here don't know that worry makes people sick? If worry can make you sick, can happiness make you better? If one mental attitude can change, can lower your energy of your body so that your body gets sick, can another mental attitude raise your body energy and make you happy and healthy? Interesting perspective, isn't it? Over on page 40, perhaps your troubles feel so real because you constantly revisit those familiar feelings that initially created the problem in the first place. A moment ago, I talked about familiarity. Your body doesn't know what's real from your senses. Your body knows what's familiar. And if you keep giving it a familiar feeling of low energy, that is the body's normal. And it seeks that normal because that's what it knows. So in the next few chapters, I want to focus on what you need to understand in order to change. That's the goal of Dr. Joe in these next few pages. I'm not asking you to change your mind. I'm asking you to change your mind all the way to your consciousness level so that you have a different concept of what you are as well as who you are. But you don't really know who you are if you got the what you are wrong. If you limit your who am I and think I am a physical being, an evolved ape, then who you are is very limited, right? Most people focus on the three things: their environment, their bodies, and time. Well, I don't see anything wrong with that. If you're not investing in your body, then you're going to just eat anything, drink anything, and your body's going to die early, and your body's going to be sick in the process. You're supposed to take care of the body. That's why you have a body system that goes on high alert when you get it wrong. When you walk into an environment that is physically dangerous, you got signals going in your body that scream. That's your body environment alert. You're supposed to take care of yourself, but you are not your body. If you want to change, you must. Dr. Joe is pretty careful with his words. When he says you must, I would think that's a pretty high priority if you want to succeed in this work. You need to pay attention to the following statements. If you want to succeed, you must have in your thoughts an idealized self, a model that you can emulate, which is different from your regular self. That exists today in your particular body, mind, and time. You must, that was pretty hard for me, that little statement. I was a military veteran and I was under cancer care, and I was being told eventually this cancer that I've been dealing with for years is going to flare up and kill me. How'd you like a doctor to tell you for 8 years you're carrying a cancer that one of these days is going to flare up and kill you? 8 years I was told that. Well, if I had not learned what I did with Dr. Joe, he would have been right. But I learned I could change not only who I was, but what I was energetically. And when I changed myself energetically, my body had to respond, and my body became a different expression because my energy was a different expression. In this chapter, we'll focus on how you can overcome your environment and lay some groundwork for the 2 chapters that follow. Okay. Our memories make up our internal environment. We have an internal and outternal. And my wife says I'm always making up words. Okay. We have an internal and external environment. And this is going to be a little bit about the internal environment. Before we begin, how can we break the habit of being ourselves? That habit of being ourselves is that conversation about doing something until the chemistry of doing it becomes addictive and becomes a habit for the body. I can only answer that by talking about the brain starting point of our thoughts and feelings. Current neuroscience theory tells us that the brain is organized to reflect everything we know in our environment, all the information that we have been exposed to throughout our lives in the form of knowledge and experiences is stored in the brain's synaptic connection. That's no news to anybody here. Everybody knows that you have an experience and the brain records it. Sometimes it records it louder than others, and we'll go into that. But that's what it does. But what's that got to do with the body? Well, for me, this was kind of new information. I didn't know how this all worked. What do we collectively call these memories of people and things that we experience at different places and times in our lives? That's our external environment. We have an internal environment, we have an experience, we have knowledge, and we drive an experience, and that experience is in our body. The stuff that happens out there, our friends, our work, etc., is the external environment. We begin to think equal to our environment. When we are constantly reacting to our environment, Dr. Joe calls that reacting equally to our environment. Sometimes our environment, our body environment, is the events, people, places, and events that are 20, 30, 40 years old, as in my case. And I was still acting equal to those events that were 40 years old. And I didn't know how to stop me from it. I didn't know how to break the habit of being me. And that's something how we can do a habit, respond to an event 40 years ago, and just still respond every time it comes up like an old acquaintance and you react to it. If your thoughts determine your reality and you keep thinking the same thoughts, then you will continue to produce the same reality day after day. That's what I did. I lived a reality that was 40 years old. Isn't that crazy? That's what we're going to be talking about. With all its problems, conditions, and circumstances. To me, that was when I first started getting a hold of this was both, oh, this is great, just like, oh, this is terrible. I don't want to look at all my ugliness of the last 40 years. Well, the truth of the matter is you already are. Every time you respond to something from an old memory, I want justice. You're reacting to something 40 years ago, again and again and again and again. And every time you react to it, you rehearse it. Every time you rehearse it, you tell the brain, the cortex, this is important, remember it. And so it does, and you rehearse it again. And you drive that chemistry reaction back in your body, and the body goes, oh, that was good. What an uplifting conversation tonight, right? You may not think that your environment and your thoughts are that rigidly similar to your reality, so easily reproduced. But when you consider that your brain is a complete record of your past and your mind is the product of your consciousness, in one sense, you might always be thinking in the past. Let's break the habit of being ourselves. Reason this. When you think from your past memories again and again and again, and again, you can only create past experiences. What gets me, and then I keep driving, is that this isn't mystical, this isn't woo-woo, this isn't religious, this is neurological. This is physical stuff. Isn't that amazing? We do a lot of this pain to ourselves because the programs that we've been given, the programs that we have received and agreed upon. They're just programs. If they are just programs, that is both comforting and challenging. It's comforting because, oh, it's just programs and all it takes is repetition. I can overcome it. Yes. But these programs are multi-layered and they're tenacious and they seem to have their own will to survive and not let go. So that is a reality that we will cross as we discuss this many times throughout this year of study. Okay. A next step on this introduction to the challenge that you have agreed to take. There is a principle in neuroscience called Hebb's law. It basically states that nerve cells that fire together wire together. Hebb's credo demonstrates that if you repeatedly activate the same nerve cells, then each time they run on, it will be easier for them to fire in union again. That's Pavlov's dog. You know, the story of in 1880s or something, where an aspiring psychologist noticed that when he rang a bell and fed the dogs, eventually he would ring the bell and the dogs would so conditioned that they would salivate expecting food. The the nerve cells that fire together wire together. The nerve cells of hearing the bell and being fed food again, again, again. So the next time he started ringing the bell, the dogs so physically had memorized that condition. It wasn't even a conscious effort for the dog. They would physically begin to salivate because the program had gotten into their body. Repetition, familiarity, some challenging words that we'll go through a lot. You'll become neurochemically attached to the conditions in your life. In time, you'll begin to think in the box because your brain will fire a finite set of circuits that then create a very specific mental signature. This signature is called your personality. Over the years, we'll find that Dr. Joe's teaching is brutally correct within a very small percentage. One of his teachings that come to mind is he said 95% of our daily life is in the autonomic nervous system, our subconscious. Only 5% of our daily expression is conscious. I argued against that. Of course, I didn't know what I was talking about. It just didn't seem possible that a guy who just was me would only be able to be free 5% of the time. As I learned, just that attitude of argument was beyond my freedom. Just the attitude of you can't make me was beyond my freedom. All these things that I did and argued and stumbled about were all programs beyond my freedom. Yeah. Very little of our daily life is free and is consciousness. You want a choice? Let me give you an example. Get up from where you're sitting, walk over to another chair. How much of that very complex body movement did you decide on? You decided. Everything else was autonomic. Very little of that complex act was conscious. Now, let's This statement said, this signature is called personality. When you get an idea and you put it in, and then you keep repeating that idea and you put it in. You put it in so many times, you now have a belief system. Yeah, I believe this. This is what I decided. Yeah. You put it in so many, you've held that belief so many times, it becomes an attitude. We're going to talk about this later in the book. I always get this way when this happens. I have an attitude. You hold that attitude and a few other attitudes, and simply by information coming in and you accepting it and acting on it in a repeated fashion, it is now your personality, and your personality creates your personal reality. And it all begins with what information you are receiving from your external environment into your internal environment. Thus, the importance of overcoming your environment. Did you get that? Okay, one more section. How you form the habit of being yourself. You could call this a rut, and we all fall into them, but it begins much deeper than that. Not just your actions, but also your attitudes and your feelings become repetitive. You have formed a habit of being yourself. Do it, do it, do it, do it. Good news is that since you created this loop, you can choose to end it. That choosing is is sometimes rather challenging, but it really gets down to choosing. We must change our state of being. I'm now on the top of page 47. We must change our state of being because how we think, feel, and believe is the essence of our personality. It is our personality that creates our personal reality. To change, then, is to be greater than your present circumstances, greater than your environment. Okay, few hands if you'd like to ask about that. So, what we're talking about is as you take a decision, that's how you change. First thing you do is you get different information, different choices. If you are still taking information from the same source for your life, that's like going to the same restaurant again and again and again. And you start to notice that everything on the menu kind of tastes the same. You want a different taste, so you choose something else on the menu, and it's still the same. Life is a little bit like that. If you keep taking your information from the same sources, you're going to have the same life that you got now. Then comes Dr. Joe with a really different menu set of ideas. And you get his idea and you think on it and you get that idea and you begin to act on it. And that acting starts to change your chemistry and you like it. And you do it again and again. And that new chemistry might have a conflict with your old chemistry. And some days you're going to have to really choose. You with me? But you just keep getting Dr. Joe's new ideas, making new choices, making new chemistries in your body. And first you change your attitude, then you change your personality, then you change your personal reality. I've seen it myself and I've seen it others. Is it easy? Often not. But sometimes some people just seem to be able to let go and change. You have people like that. You have children that can, at 5 years old, they can play the piano. Okay, so don't say everybody, never say everybody. But often it can be really changing to contradict this lifetime of input and accept this new one speaker that says, try this idea. And it will contradict. And you have to choose to let your body get a different chemical, a different familiarity, a different personality, a different personal reality. Anybody want to comment on that? Comment on changing your inner environment? I got more to say. No? No hands? Okay. Let's see if we can get into a little bit more. I'm on 47. As a common thread, they all had a dream, vision, and objective that was greater than they were. They all believed in a future destiny that was so real in their minds that they began to live if that dream were already happening. They couldn't see, hear, or taste, or smell, or feel it. No, it wasn't physical, but they were so possessed by their dream that they acted in a way that corresponded to the potential of reality ahead of time. In other words, they behaved as if they were envisioned was already a reality. As we go through the meditations, Dr. Joe will tell you to feel the field and feel your future self. What is your if you were who you dreamed to be, what would that feel like? Not out here in a comfortable chair in an air conditioned house. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean in your heart, in your mind. What would it be like to be that person in your heart, in your internal expression? You see, to get this to respond, that means you've got to get something coming in you. So you create an energy and get it in you and say, this is the idea that I want, and I'm going to bring that idea in me and change my chemistry. Can you practice that? This isn't woo woo. Athletes do this all the time. This is part of the athletic drill to get from knowing to mastery, is to get it in and experience perfection. It's really strange. When I was a young guy, I used to watch martial arts practice, and they would spend 50% of their time in slow motion practice. I thought, wait a minute, I'm trying to be as fast in this motion as I can possibly be. And my teacher and the masters of this in class would spend half an hour, 45 minutes going at a dead slow motion. Some of you may have seen Tai Chi and Qigong and others, these martial artists, they go, what are they doing as as a martial art training? They are programming that image in them so that they can see the slightest reference and get it perfect. Athletes do that. Quarterbacks particularly do that. They will sit and see a play and see a play until they can see the play, see the people moving in the field, and they respond too fast. You ever seen a quarterback dodge a tackle and he's not even looking at the guy? He just is so tuned. How do you get to do that? By repetition of 1,000 times. You ever go to the grocery store and you get there and you go, I forgot I was driving. I mean, you think of your drive there and you've done it so many times, you got a 5-10 minute gap in your memory. What happened? Your memory took over. Well, these are all nice experiences until the memory takes over in a harmful way. Being ex-military, I'm talking about me. And yeah, it took over in a harmful way numerous times. And I paid a price for it, but I didn't know how to make it stop. That's your inner environment responding to the repetition it received from your external environment. They couldn't see, hear, taste, or smell. They behaved as if what they were envisioned was already a reality. So when you sit and do your meditation and you're trying to change your external reality by changing your internal reality, and when your internal reality changes, your external reality will change. When your personality changes, your reality about you change. Let me give you a simple example about that. The big one is if you were an avid smoker, let's say you smoke pack and a half, 2 packs a day, and you decide to quit smoking. Guess what's the first thing you're going to do? You're going to quit hanging around people who smoke to help you change your external reality because of an internal decision. And so, in very short order, your external reality change. And this happens with a lot of addiction behavior. You're addicted to foods, and you decide, really deeply decide, I'm going to clean my diet and get healthy again. One of the first things you do is you're going to start losing friends who are like to indulge in food fast because you won't do it anymore. And they don't want you around because you're not indulging with them. I used to hang around angry vets. Why? Well, I was an angry vet. Yeah, it's just I fit. I was one of them. I wasn't being righteous. I was just being me. When I started changing, I started noticing my friends got scarcer and scarcer because I was not supporting the venom. I would not allow it in me, in my mind. I wouldn't listen to it. I wouldn't participate in it. And so I had to change my external reality because my internal reality changed. And there's 1,000 examples of that. Change your personality and your external environment changes. Sometimes in big ways, sometimes in little ways, but it changes. Why? Because you attract to you what you are. Right? Who doesn't have stories where they can look at themselves and go, yeah, that was me until I changed. I kept attracting the same kind of person into my life. And I couldn't understand why. I'd leave this relationship, and before I knew it, I was in another relationship just like the one I left. Why? Because there's something in the internal of you that drew that to you. When you manage to change your heart, that changes. That's not woo woo, that's science. That's human. This lesson can be taught to anywhere around the planet. I love that. I love saying this is human. That means you don't have to belong to some secret club with a funny handshake. You don't have to wear a robe. You don't have to tithe to a certain offering and go into a certain building with a certain name on the door. And if you don't have that name on your door, you're going to hell. No. You change your heart, your life changes. That's science. History's giants: Gandhi, Kennedy, Washington, Lincoln, uh, many people who were just committed to a vision greater than them. They had that. They got into them an idea bigger than them, and they refuse to let it go, regardless of the price their external environment put on them. No hands yet? Does that mean I'm boring everybody? This is a human thing. Every one of us, without exception, deals with it in one form or another. Mental rehearsal, the start, the practice in meditation. On page 49, neuroscience has proven that we can change our brains. Did you know that the expression change your mind? I used to think that that was just an expression of I changed my thoughts. Do you know that when you change your thoughts and the information that you respond to, you have neurologically, to a small degree, changed your mind neurologically, physically, biologically? That was shocking to me. What do you mean I changed my brain? When I was young, a long time ago, we were taught we had one brain, fixed cells. You damage your brain cells, you don't get them back. And for an old army guy who got intoxicated intensely on more than a few occasions, I started changing, realizing what a sad story. I burned all my brain cells. Yeah, I burned some, but they heal. People know that. People have nerve damage in their arms or something, and the therapist will make them use that arm, make them use that arm, and pretty soon, out of nothing, the nerves start building again. And pretty soon, well, not pretty soon, but eventually the person can use his arm. Neurons rebuild depending on their environment and their instructions, which is part of their internal environment. Yeah. Through mental rehearsal, performing an action, the circuits in the brain can reorganize themselves to reflect our objectives. We can make our thoughts so real that the brain changes to look like the event has already become the physical reality. We can change it to be ahead of any actual experience. Now that was something that was slow for me to accept, except I saw it happen numerous times. If the brain changes because you have new education, you learned a new, let's say you're learning to dance or play music, and you've got to build the muscle memory in your brain. So you drill it, drill it, drill it, drill it. And soon the neurons, the muscles, the nerve endings connect so that reflect this behavior. Okay. So you could say your brain is matching your behavior. What if you can do that to something that has not yet happened? Yeah, that was kind of a say what? What if you can change your brain neurons before the event becomes real? What if it's not what if your body doesn't know what is today and what you tell it is today? If your body is rehearsing something that's 40 years old, that's not today. It got that by repetition. What about you rehearsing your favorite desired future event, intent, health, personality? And so you rehearse it and rehearse it and rehearse it. It's not here, it's not today, but sitting in your chair, you get the desire and the image, and you start rehearsing it. The body doesn't know the difference. You rehearse it in you, and those neurons start building, and you will have just what this sentence says. You can change to be ahead of any actual experience. That new life that you desire hasn't happened yet, but your brain will be emotionally, physiologically, neurologically preparing for it. And what an odd thing happens when you succeed in that. Your personality will change. Your person, and that will drive your personal reality to change. That will drive your energy field to change, and that will start drawing that desire to you energetically. It actually happens that way. Just saying woo woo. I keep saying that because it just used to blow my mind. It actually happens that way. Amy, I see your hand. Thank you for raising your hand.
Hi. Can you hear me?
I hear you, Amy. Go ahead.
Okay.
Thank you.
Um, so yeah, I read this and I read this and like I'm like starting to get this. So I'm excited. Um, but this reminds me of like I used to do like figure competitions. And in that, like this is what I used to do. I had to like walk in a bikini with high heels, which I don't do. So I had to envision myself doing that and being great at it and winning. And I would picture myself in heels, walking confidently, proudly, whatever I had to do, and winning. And I feel like that's like, I'm finally like connecting. Is that like kind of what you're saying?
That is exactly what I'm talking about.
So it's kind of like, yeah, like how I used to be in a car and be like envisioning myself already at my destination and what I was going to do there. Kind of?
Yes.
Got it.
Yes. See, this is very human. We do this stuff in our actual everyday life. And I'm trying to get you to understand if you apply those principles in your meditation and choose, instead of being subject to your external environment, choose the method. I'm going to rehearse this desired event until my brain is wired for it. Just like the walk that Amy described, just like the martial artists that used to go in slow motion, just like football players who rehearse it and rehearse it until they see it in their mind, so that when they say go, you just take off. Yeah, you can change the program in your body by the same way you got it in the first place, by rehearsing it. Rehearse something that doesn't make you sick. Rehearse something that makes you healthy. And do it without hurting yourself by self criticism. Deb, thank you for raising your hand.
Oh, so you can hear me?
I hear you, Deb. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I just have a question. My I kind of was drawn to you because in the last couple of years I just kind of lacked motivation to do anything. So the question is, if during the meditation that I just want to get more motivated to do something, do I just focus on that motivation or something to do that I would think that I'm motivated, that I think that I might be motivated to do.
Well, you touched on something very real. The body hides its programs by a lot of contradiction and a lot of layers. So if you go right at it, you'll be wrestling ghost. So what do you do? What did very much what did I do? I say it wrestling ghost because that's how I learned that how come I couldn't do this? So why wouldn't it? Because I was, instead of going about what I wanted, I was going about not having what I don't want.
Okay.
It's a trick of the mind to not want what you don't want. I could say, I don't want to be fired from my job. I don't want it. I don't want it. I don't want it. You know what's going to happen? I'm going to have such an anxiety about my job. I'm going to find myself fired from my job. What you do is want what you do want. I don't want to be fired from my job. Why would they fire? Well, don't do that. How do I not do that? Have a peaceful mind, give more than what you paid for, contribute to the community in attitude and work, make yourself back. So just become more valuable than what they pay for, and you'll find that they don't fire you. So focus on what you want and diminish. You can't just throw it away. Diminish what you don't want. I want I want to live a peaceful, creative life. Yeah. My past is barking. How do I do it? If I say, go away, go away, go away, the intensity of me telling it to go away is telling my cortex, this is important. You're going to hear this all year. Everything you tell is important. This says, oh, it's important. I must remember it and replay it at a later date. Yeah, stop. Okay, this is told this is important. So I'm going to play it at a later date. Did I diminish this in any way? No, I just about guaranteed that this barking face in my mind is going to remind me again sometime. Even though I'm trying to say I want peace, I want art, I want crafts. I'm shouting at this louder than I'm thinking of this. And so my mind will say, this is important, remember it. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. So what you do, and we'll go over this many times through these lessons, is you diminish the value of this. Oh, that was the expression I use. Yeah, I remember you. You're a bad day. That was a bad day. Go away. I'm busy. And I'd say, I'm busy doing this. And this is so important to me. Look what I'm doing here. And I tell my mind how important this new life is. I lift my heart to it. I lift my energy. I lift my ambition to it. And this the other day, oh, that was a bad day. I remember you. You go away. You're a bad day. Okay. And I try to teach my mind, my cortex, that I don't care about this anymore. And it diminishes and diminishes. So if you're telling me you're dealing with negative things in your life, I'm going to tell you to do something that's almost impossible. Quit paying attention to them and give your attention to your vision of your future self. Yeah, when you start, it's almost impossible. So you do it in little sound bites. Let me say that better. I did it in little sound bites because I was full of this. Yeah. I mean, I was a veteran dying of cancer. So I had a lot of this in me. And Dr. Joe says, think of your future self. My future self was surviving next month. So, yeah, I had exaggerated. I had full phase 4 melanoma cancer, as well as the other skin cancer. Someone once asked me, what kind of skin cancer you got? Oh, I got them all. And I got a serious case of all of them. So, yeah. And most of it was because my body had just given up and was tired of the darkness that I lived in. Yeah, stress kills, and it almost killed me and it would have if I hadn't found Dr. Joe and taken it seriously. What he's saying to me was change your internal energy. And I don't change my internal energy by arguing with the darkness. I change my internal energy by absorbing my vision of the future and telling the darkness, just go away. That was a bad day. Yeah, I remember you. I don't care. Go away. I release you. That debt that I held on to all my life, I don't care anymore. That's more important to me than the debt I hold on to. Yeah, that was a bad day. And I don't want justice. I don't care about it. Leave me alone. I'm busy. Whatever it takes to diminish this thing that's holding your attention and raise the energy of your future that you're trying to work for. Did that help your answer?
Yeah, that makes sense because just you got to replace the one with the other consistently because we
Consistently.
the way we got here was just by like you said we wired like like in the past when I, met guys, then they always seemed like, yeah, they were similar to what my dad was, and
Well said.
but
Yeah,
thank you.
it's
Yeah,
almost a
thanks.
cliche that women marry images of their father, a reflection of their father. It's almost a cliche. It's so common. Why do they do that? Well, because they have that image in them, and
Because you
so
have
they
that
draw it to
pattern.
them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it takes a real act of will to change a pattern that is that deep.
Oh, believe me, yeah, I've been working on changing patterns now for the last few weeks, and it's starting to kind of turn around, and but I've
If
been
you
doing
can
a
do
lot.
it in a few weeks, you're ahead of me. It took me a few years.
Well, yeah, I've been doing a lot of different meditations, and like you said, it's a slow process, but it's going to be worth it because I was just sick
Absolutely.
and tired of the same old thoughts and waking up depressed and
What's the
not.
expression? You're sick and tired of being sick and tired?
Yes. Good point. I know I'm 68, so I don't want to spend the rest of my life, in the same thinking pattern.
I can tell you what Dr. Joe says absolutely works if you can find it in you to receive it. But you have to receive it.
Hmm.
And I'm here to try to convince you. You know how when you start a lesson and in the back of your head, you wonder, is this real? Is this real? Is this real? Oh my goodness. I am an absolute testimony that if you get it in you, it will change your life. I am giving you footprints in the sand. What I do, I know is unique to me. What I keep telling you what I do, not so that you do what I do, but so that you can find a principle in it and apply the principle to you. You with me?
Yep.
Because my story is unique to me, your story is unique to you. But the principle of change is the same. Thank you. That was a sensitive, heartfelt statement, and I hope I did it justice.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
Thank you. Okay,
You
bottom of
change
third.
people's lives just by, what you're doing here.
That's my heart. That's why I do what I do. You, that's exactly it. You know, it's just any teachers here, anybody that's just teachers have heart teachers, not a job, but the teachers who teach from their heart have one thing in their heart, changing somebody's life by changing their mind. And when they see it in the eyes of their students, they're paid. That's their paycheck keeps the lights on, but their pay, their heart's pay, is when somebody does what Deb just says, change their life because something in the way I led this information, they were able to receive. Yeah, that's payday for me. That's payday for my heart. Okay. Thank you, Deb. That was good. Whether we, I like how he includes us in, whether we physically or mentally acquire a skill, there are four elements that we all use to change our brains. He went beyond changing your thinking. He's saying changing your brains. Did you catch that? Learning knowledge, receiving hands-on instructions, paying attention, and repetition. These are four elements that change you. New knowledge. I talked about that. You read the book and read the book and read the book until you learn the book. That begins to rewire your neurons, but that's not enough to change your body. Receiving hands-on instructions. Sometimes books aren't available. Sometimes people just they read a book and it's like they got issues and book knowledge don't go in. So they have hands-on coaches. hands-on teaching, coaches, crafts are very hands-on. Sports are very hands-on. It's hard to get good at a sport without someone who's mastered it pointing out what you do. Paying attention. If you haven't learned to draw your focus in, tune out the rest of the world, and give it attention, where the attention goes, energy flows, you're going to have a hard time getting past beginner knowledge. And repetition is something you'll hear throughout the whole year. That is the secret to the body changing. Repetition. You got those inner programs by repetition and trauma, and you remove those ghosts in you by repetition. That's simply the human experience. It's not because you're sick or crazy. I thought I was who I was because I was physically, mentally crazy. No, I was intensely programmed. Once I started working on the programs, I changed. I was, believe me, I was the one that was most surprised. I mean, all I have to do is practice being at peace, and the answer is yes. Why didn't somebody tell me that 40 years ago? Participants who mentally rehearse also follow the same formula. You mentally rehearse, and the body changes. Remember, after these subjects repeatedly mentally practice, their brains showed the same neurological changes. So you can practice with your fingers, or you can practice in your mind like you're drawing images of future self. And they both change the brain in the same neurological way. Now, physically changes it a little bit more, but it's basically the same. The physiological of your body doesn't know the difference. Isn't that wild? I think that was just so bizarre. When we can change our minds independent of the environment, when you can see that future self and change your thinking without living in today's chaos, then we can steadfastly embrace an ideal with sustained concentration. The brain will be ahead of the environment. You will actually prepare the brain before the event even gets here. This is mental rehearsal, an important tool in the breaking the habit of being yourself. To understand that neurological change can take place in the absence of physical interaction in the environment is crucial to our success in breaking the habit of being yourself. Years ago, when I was a young guy, doing martial arts and stuff like that, thinking I was a tough guy, one of the things I studied was the Shaolin monk, and Zen meditations, and how they taught the monks extreme martial arts. And it was fascinating what I learned. A Zen monk would teach its apprentice, there's another word for it, archery. They would spend months at an archery range without a bow and arrow. Without even lifting their arms, they would stand in the archery range and see them lift their bow, pull out an arrow from their shaft, put it in the bow, pull it back, and see that arrow sail to the center of the target. The details of that would be spoken by their master again and again and again for months. Don't you know that was a strain on the young men and women who took that training? When are we going to get to shoot the bow? If they asked the question, that told their master that they're not learning what the master's teaching, and just asking the question was enough to kick them out of the training. because that means they didn't receive him as truth. But those who took the training and took it deeply into them and took it as real as they could possibly receive it, at the end of the training, the first time they put a bow in their hand, the first time they flipped that arrow in the hand, the first time they pulled back, they so were tuned to it that arrow would hit the center of the target. First shot. Because they rehearsed that future event so much that their brain had prepared for this moment, that as if it had been practicing it all that time. This is real. It's not even, and it's not new, it's ancient. Dr. Joe did not invent this as new knowledge. His genius is not in the knowledge. His genius is in making it new to us today, in how he presents it. That is just amazing to me. Yes, the quantum U is new knowledge, but the idea behind it is the same. Those Shaolin monks and Zen Buddhists, they knew we were this body. They knew we were eternal. Western societies are the ones that forgot it. You are an eternal electrical energy being. That is what you are, and you are expressing yourself through this body. That is what you are. If you can influence your brain to change before the experience a desired future event, you will create the appropriate neural circuits that will enable you to behave in alignment with your intention before it became a reality. That is the secret of developing, that is one of the secrets of developing an intention that works. As you get further in this work, people will talk about meditation groups and intention and things like that. This is an important foundation to a successful intention, is to be able to practice my future self out of my present self, so I can make that future self my internal self. Just if I can make my past my present self, I can make my future my present self. And I like my future better than my past. Once you learn this is real and not, here I go again, and not woo-woo, that this is a real human experience, you can do this. I'm telling you, folks, if this crazy Army vet can learn to do it, by goodness, you can do it too. Really? Isn't that cool? Okay. Just about the end of tonight's chapter, and almost no one's talked to me. In fact, the more you formulate an image of your behavior in the future, the more you create that image, that feeling, that color, that future self, the more you do it, the more real you can make that in you, the easier it will be for you to execute a new way of being. You do that and you do that and you practice in this chair until you can carry it with you through your day and rehearse it in a moment in the day. You got a few minutes at work, you just put back, this is my future self. And you put that energy on for a few minutes and you practice and practice until it is the familiar energy of your inner self. So, can you believe in a future you cannot yet see and experience? Can you? I can tell you I could not first year. Well, 6 months anyway. I started to after the first 6 months. Yeah, I'd sit here and Dr. Joe has an expression that used to aggravate me. Don't get up from the chair until you feel the change. I would have died of starvation if I followed that. Really, it's like I got nothing. But what I got was a lesson that said, if I keep rehearsing it, if I keep doing the work, if I keep pushing against it, then my stubborn character will bring me my deliverance. And I can be awfully stubborn when I get a vision that is important to me. I always thought being this genetic stubborn fool was a destructive act. Well, it could be. It's just a trait. How do I use it? I said I would not give in to the habits of my old self. I would wear them out with a decision of creating my future self and do it and do it and do it. And I created the habit of changing myself. It took me months to even begin to feel the hint of receiving it. It was somewhere around 6 months that I started getting hints of change. 3 times a day, I would sit here. In that 6 months, I was told by the doctor, I'm going to die of cancer. And I said, no, I'm not. I couldn't. I was dealing with phase 4 melanoma cancer as everything else. Yeah, with surgeries. I think I had 6 or 7 deep surgeries by then. No, I won't, because I will change. I will, I will, I will. And I did this. I did this. And it wasn't just a decision, it was repetition that I succeeded. Last paragraph. Now that you know you can change your brain by thinking differently, you took your environment on the outside and you drove your decision of your future self inside, and you now change your inner environment. That's why chapter 2, the first of the 3, is environment. Is it possible to change your body to look like the future self? Yes. And that completes the discussion, the reading of chapter 2. Somebody talk to me, please.
Hi, I'll give it
Amy.
a go.
Thank you, Amy. What's on your mind?
Um, I was thinking that when you were talking about letting go of things when they happen, not holding on to them, it's kind of like the Olympics. We're all at the Olympics and we're in a race. In when we drop something, like say we're in a relay and somebody's passing the baton to you and sticking the baton in the next person's hand. They might not put it in your hand perfectly, but instead of being upset about it, thinking about it, holding on to it as a grudge, you just keep aiming to go forward. You're aiming to get the gold. You have no time to think twice about how they did it incorrectly, how they were not so kind to you. And isn't that the same thing about life? If we keep on aiming for our future self and not thinking and carrying these grudges and how people did us wrong, we would all win the gold in our own life.
You know, what a beautiful metaphor. Spot on. Our society, we're constantly receiving the baton from the one that goes before us. If you work shift work, you've received the baton of that piece of work from somebody else. You didn't do from resources to output. You received a section of it, transformed it for your definition, and moved it on. It could even be just data, but the data you got, you transform by adding value to it before you pass it on. And if you get somebody else's mistake, you just walk away and say, no, I ain't going to do this. You made a mistake. How long do you think you'd keep that job? Yeah. You keep the end in mind at all times. Yeah,
It's
that's a perfect metaphor.
and it's true if
The
we
relay race.
ruminate.
Yeah.
And in the time of like when you're at a race, you don't ruminate, you stay focused. You know what the end goal is. But I don't know why we have such a big ego. So if we were in a race and we were like, oh my God, this is no, like that's the end. And that's the amazing thing about athletes. They're able to zone out. People are sending them hate, yelling at them. Pro athletes, the same thing. Baseball players, people are yelling at them, saying horrible things. They just focus on the game.
Yeah. Redefine the terms of that conversation. What is the game? The game for me is to have so much peace in my life that cancer could not find a place in me.
I love that.
That was my game. And I allowed for no exceptions. Just, I practice and practice and practice and practice until I allowed for no exceptions in me. I would get one of those stray thoughts and it would hit me like a stink in a room. You don't belong here. Go away. I got something I'm doing over here. Yes, that's a beautiful metaphor, is the baton. We all our life as adults, but there's a hidden thing in what you said. Where did we get the program in us that makes us angry because someone stumbled the baton to us and makes us so angry that we will wreck our life because someone else fumbled the baton? We're supposed to have a self-survival thing going on. Instead, we've got a self-destruct thing going on. Where did we learn that? We are taught by our society destructive self-ego. Why would society teach us that? Because it profits them. It profits their control. It profits their sale. It profits their ego. That's how we got here. So they don't care if you're messing up your life. So you are responsible to change that program. That's all it is. I used to think I had boogeymen fighting me, trying to keep me. No, those are just programs. And once I received that simple piece of information, I mean, really received it, I now had a target and I now could learn some programs are big boogeymen and some of them are just bad physical habits. And there's 100 of them in between. And I learned to diminish the value in a dozen different ways. The same principle for all of them, big ones or little ones. You change their value in you, and this diminishes. As long as they stay important to you, this remembers it because it's important. That's its job. So we need to make those dark programs mean less so that we can learn the things that mean more to us now. Good metaphor, baton. Coach Bonnie, I see your mic is on. You'd like to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to make a comment when you were saying about, we get new information, new ideas, and we start changing, and our circle of friends start changing. People you start noticing things and things fall off. And sometimes you feel a little attachment there, or you go through, I feel like since I've really been working more intensely on myself, the older I get, I'm 68 too, working on making things that are familiar, unfamiliar, and vice versa. But I think you kind of go through a little lonely stage. Well, I don't know if it's lonely, part lonely, but a loner stage, because I think for me, the more I study this stuff and the more I become aware, I notice more things. and I try to avoid putting myself in certain situations. But you don't want to be too antisocial. I mean, we all need to socialize, so there's a happy medium there. So how did you manage that?
I think your observation is spot on correct. I
Mm-hmm.
went through a time when I had nobody.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just the vets. I go to the vet and they were all angry like I was. And I'm trying to be a peaceful man so I can survive cancer.
Right.
Where do you think that went? I'd be sitting nice and calm, and these guys would be raging as, don't you care, Ray? Just okay. I'm enough of that. Yeah.
Right.
And
Right.
so I spent a lot of time at home. So what I found is that society in this Western society, there really are a lot more people angry than there are peaceful. That's what our society has done to us.
Mm-hmm.
It's in the news, it's in our stories, it's in our movies.
Mm-hmm.
It's even in our food. Our food's got so much toxin in it. You eat a dinner and you come out, "Grr." It's like, what happened?
Right.
So, what do you do? What did I do?
Mm-hmm.
First, I was very fortunate. I found the WhatsApp page that I'm now leading. It was led by a lady named Jenny Truman, and she was my first step into the community of Dr. Joe. I looked until I found something. But that was only a very remote thing, meeting people online. What else did I do? Well, eventually, years down the road, I found years down the road, I found a local group here in Dallas, and that gave me a few faces, but I didn't still fit in because I was still learning. But it gave me faces. And so here in Dallas, once a month, I meet with the group and we just have a little time together. We would do a meditation and we walk as a group, do a walking meditation, and we have a meal. And it's kind of bizarre to sit with a whole body of people that think, act, and talk like me, because nowhere else in my month do I get that. And so the contrast is big. Okay. Another thing I did was I learned to adapt. I learned how to play a game of cards called bridge. It's probably the most complicated card game there is. And I cannot talk about this work at all in it. There was more than 15 people in the group one time, and I just got to hear, does anybody in this group meditate or think of study meditation? Out of the 15 people, nobody, but nobody admitted to it or said they'd do anything with it. And a few people made some funny comments. But I continued to play bridge. Why? Because of what you just implied. Just to have people around me, even just a short time, once a week. So I go play bridge with a bunch of very typical Americans and don't talk about this at all. Eventually, I started leading the group, and now I've got people around me. I get phone calls, during the week. I get community, just now I'm not by myself anymore. But that is my journey. And I agree, Bonnie, that first couple years, I was absolutely alone. But I saw what Dr. Joe wrote, and I wanted it. Another thing you'll hear me say throughout this year, how bad do you want it? Are you wanting it enough that you will endure a life alone in the midst of a crowd? I did. Why? Because I had a boogeyman standing over me saying, and every time I let it get to me and I got depressed and I got sad because I had to go to another surgeon to burn off more scoots. That shadow would stand over me and go, so you finally given up. My heart would leap, my mind would go, what? No, I am not going to give into this darkness. That's how I lived, and that's I had that to fight me. There's a piece of music that I played during this time. Well, I had two poems actually. But the piece of music that came to mind once I got past the immediate threat that just used to make me cry, and I played it almost every time I sat to meditate. It was done by Journey. It's called "I Want to Know What Love Is."
Oh yeah. I like that.
Oh, Lee, that just would, because it was so much my heart's desire. What is this love that people talk about? Now, I've been married. Oh, I had my 50th wedding anniversary last week. So I know what love with a wife is, and she loves me
Congratulations.
deeply.
Congratulations.
Isn't that something? 50 years been married. I'm finding that so sadly rare in our society. But we are so in love with each other now. We like each other. We laugh at it. We sit in the living room at night, watch television, and hold hands, just because we want to touch each other. And we've been together. We've been married 50 years. We dated before that. We knew each other before that. And we still like each other enough to sit and hold hands. Isn't that amazing?
That's
But
wonderful.
I would sit and meditate and think about the love that Dr. Joe's talking about and go, no, what he's talking about is something different from this. I want to know what that love is. The song was just, I want to know what love is. But in me, I had another idea that there was another love higher than just this relationship love we had learned in this life. And so I started speaking that future self. Remember the story today about you find that future self? And I said, I want to know what that love is. That love. I've got an abundance of this love in my heart. My wife just loves the dickens out of me. Sometimes I wonder why, but she said, you silly old man, it's because I could see you even when you can't see you. Isn't that a sweet lady to say something like that? And I wanted to know what that love is, that higher love. And that's what that song spoke to me. And so I would take that song and drive that idea in me until I was awakened one day and I learned what it meant. Doak Young,
Thanks, Ray. That was good. That was good. Thank you.
thank you, Bonnie. Doak Young, I see your hand up.
Yes, thank you so much, Ray.
Would you please pronounce your name for me?
Perfect. You said just right.
Doak Young?
Yes, perfect.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh my goodness, you touched my heart so much. But what you said just hit me so hard because I was in Dr. Joe's Cancun 10-day retreat last year because I've been doing Dr. Joe's work sincerely every day because I know we know too much. I don't want to go back. No,
Yes.
that's not me. So I was there doing all the stuff, but when we are there, something comes up to test us. So, so when we are going through that, I realized because when a lot of times I don't put myself first. I take care of other people first, other people's needs. So I thought I was doing enough of self-love, but it was conditional love to myself. It wasn't unconditional love. Oddly enough, the theme was The Highest Love by Dr. Joe. He put it up there. So even now, every day, my thing is how do I love myself unconditionally today? Because I realized I wasn't loving myself enough unconditionally, day by day. So what you told me about the song, I want to know that love, what love is, because I am familiar with my husband, the love with my loved ones. I'm familiar with my kids. Blessings, but I want to know more and I deserve it. So thank you so much for you sitting there and talking to us. with your true heart, because I can see that you really want us to get there. Thank you. Very, very nice.
You're very welcome. And you really put your finger on it. There is another love besides the love of this life. One of the expressions that you'll hear me say throughout this year is love yourself first, most always. Love yourself so much that you're like a fountain that spills over and the field of your love spills out into the area about you so that people can walk near you and feel your love. That is not selfish. That is the most successful, generous thing you can do. Why does somebody spend a fortune on education promoting themselves? Do you think that's selfish? That's the most generous thing they can do to their community, is to work and develop a skill that contributes to their community. Same idea. Love yourself first, most, and always. Love yourself until you overflow like a fountain spilling out on your community around you. If you are not loving yourself, then your fountain is dry and everything else is performance. Performance ain't bad. That's how we get through this physical life. But it's not that love. Right on. When you begin to realize the quantum you, and it's a slow learn because you got a lifetime of learning that says you're this. You've got a lifetime of learning that says Newtonian cause and effect. Even knowing it, even experiencing it, I still have to tell myself throughout the day, I am an eternal energy being, and see my body remote from me. That is the truth of who I say I am. This body is my expression, not me. Authenticity is that love. Exactly. Very good. That was a good point. Amy, hello. Thank you for raising your hand again. Maybe not. Okay.
Sorry, my thing wasn't on. Sorry.
Sure.
I also think like it's like looking at like say something like this discussion is a new habit. Like we could all be overeating, over drinking, over gossiping, and like we are forming a new habit right here.
Yes.
And like what really rings true to me a lot too and helps me through my day, like when I'm in meditation and then when I leave it and I'm walking around, is when Joe Dispenza, Joey D, I like to call him, says, and remember that feeling, like that brings me, like I'm like, I know I have that feeling in me. I know it's there. I'm just reacting to this person who I think is making me upset or this situation that's making me upset. And in that moment, I say, remember that feeling. Because if I felt it there, I could feel it here. And then I react differently. And I
Right.
think for me, that's what I'm hearing a lot and trying to experience.
Remember, your reaction is just one program responding to stimulus.
Yeah.
It's not you. You didn't decide to react that way, not directly. It is a program in you that is reacting to a stimulus. Remember that Dr. Joe says 95% of the time it's not us? Those reactions are not us. They are programs triggered to respond to a stimulus.
Right.
Learn to eliminate and change those programs and you will quit reacting to them.
Right.
You learn to do that by redefining them, is one of the tools I had. Something would happen in my mind. It had nothing to do with the real world. It happened in my mind. And it would, and I would used to think that was an evil thing, evil thing, evil thing. And now I just go, oh, that's just an ugly face. It's just completely, yeah, it's like some tough guy tries to come up on you and scare you, and you go, nah, go away.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
you're supposed to be
yeah.
afraid of me. Oh, you're just an ugly face. Go away.
Yeah, I see that happening more and more, like something that I would have a habit to react and like I would have to like defend myself or be hurt.
Yeah.
Or I'm like, that actually is exhausting. Have a good day and I got things to do.
Yeah. Remember, it helps. And you've got to solve it moment by moment, event by event. Your program is responding to a stimulus, not you. You are not responding to the stimulus. The program is.
Hmm.
When that gets in you, pretty soon you're going, oh, it's just that weird old military program. Get out of my head. You no longer own it. It is no longer you. I am not crazy. That's just a program in me. I am not angry. That is just a program in me responding.
And you
I
can
am
change
not
that
jealous.
program.
That's an old survival program in me. I am an energy being of divine light and love. That's what I am. I am just packing some programs that taken time to diminish. When you get that in you, wow,
Yeah.
you'll start chipping away at this stuff like a magic equation.
Right.
Because every time you go, you tell it to remember it.
Remember.
Every time you go, it's just a program. I remember you. You've just devalued the importance and made room for the things, the energy for what you want. Yeah, that's cool stuff when you
Very
really
cool.
get it.
Yeah. Well, because we can reprogram it.
Yeah, we really can. You start with what chapter 1 tried to tell you. You are not a physical being. That's not you. You are a quantum you. You are an energy being. You are an electrical, divine, luminous electrical energy. That is you. That is energy. That is consciousness. That is you expressing your life through this body. And this body has collected programs. I'm not talking woo-woo, I'm talking science.
Mm-hmm.
And as you recognize the program, you go, oh, that's just a program. That's not me. Yeah, it's just, I don't do that anymore. Go away.
Right.
You just lowered the energy in your mind and increase the energy of your future self. And this equation starts changing. It actually works that way. Isn't that wild?
Yeah, and that is self-love, I think. I think
That's it.
Like it's self-love to treat yourself like that.
That's it. Love yourself first, most, and always. Love yourself until you overflow like a fountain to the world around you.
Right. Cool. Thank you.
We've all sent that. Have you ever walked by somebody and they just feel huggable? You just, oh, they feel so good. Just you walk by them and go, who are you?
Yeah.
And then you walk by somebody else and you go, oh, what a creep. And you can't get away from them soon enough. This loving yourself isn't odd. It's human. Love yourself first, most, and always until you're an overflowing fountain and you wash the environment around you with love. Love is the light that's in your room, and it doesn't care what's in the room. It illuminates the entire environment. Love is the lamp on the hill that gives light to all the valleys about it, and it doesn't care what's in the valley. They just receive its light. That's love. It is a frequency that you can learn. That was the coolest thing in my studies when I can learn, love. Yeah.
Thank you.
What a crazy idea that is. Yeah. For the light that stands in the way of the darkness. Yeah. All it takes is a candle to chase the dark out of the room. Remember, darkness is a non-thing. Light is something. Just like cold is a non-temperature, heat is the energy. Be the thing, be energy, be love. And you will change your world internally, your environment first, and that will change your reality. What a great way to end tonight's discussion. That was it. Yeah, it's really does get down to choosing to learn to love. I didn't get that the first 6 months. All I wanted to do was survive cancer. By the time I was in my second year, I got it. But I was by myself. I didn't have someone to reflect back. So I'm going to push the end of recording. Thank you for listening. This has been Chapter 2 of Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. Changing your environment. Stop recording.